what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1973 Chevy Nova SS. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8 and down below is a 4-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Nova because this is my first Nova here on the channel. I think this car is really cool and it has a really cool history that we'll get into a little bit later on. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to the Rusty Restored Relics here in North New Jersey. It's a vintage car club, and their information will be found in the description below. But let's get back to that 350 under the hood. It's a 350 cubic inch V8, and there were a lot of engines offered in the Nova throughout the years, a couple of 6 cylinders, but mostly V8s. And this is the numbers matching engine. However, it has been rebuilt at some point in its past that we'll get to later on. I do want to point out under the hood also that this is the original Brakemaster, not rebuilt, still functioning, and I love to see that. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed manual transmission. It is a Saginaw transmission, not a Muncie transmission, and I like it a lot. It works really well, and it's actually really friendly to shift, which isn't always very characteristic of older muscle cars like this. They're usually pretty unfriendly to drive, but this is actually quite lovely. So I have to say I'm a big fan of Saginaw, not only in Michigan, but here in this Nova. Last but not least, of course, it is rear-wheel drive, and this does have the posi traction rear end, which is basically a limited slip differential, but old muscle car guys love saying that it has a posi. How does it feel to drive the 73 Nova? Well, you do notice that it is smaller than the other muscle cars. This was sort of a compact of sorts. Not a compact, but you know, smaller. And you really notice that. It feels more nimble. The 350 will do 350 things. By modern standards, it's a little bit lazy, but it was kind of the bee's knees back in the 70s. And it drives very muscle car-y. It's very straight, and it's very directed. It knows what it wants to do before you know what it wants to do. It's got a little squeaky brakes, but that's okay. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 gauges. My fuel to the left, speedometer in the center. To the right would be a clock if you got that option, but this one didn't. The steering wheel just says SS, nothing else beyond that. And off to the left, we do have our headlight switches and wipers, as well as this little added switch for the fog lights that are no longer on the vehicle. On the door, we have our manual mirror adjustments, crank for the window, and a little Nova badge, which I really like. And moving into the center, we have our heat and ventilation options and an aftermarket Blaupunkt radio that was added sometime in the 90s. We do have a fold-down ashtray and cigarette lighter, but we don't have any cup holders, so the 73 Nova SS fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we get the shifter. The shifter has been swapped out a couple of times in this vehicle's life. This is the current iteration. It is a Hurst shifter, and like I said, I really love the feeling of it. And this has the bench seat. Now, it originally came with cloth, but was swapped out to leather, and I have to say that it is probably the better option. I really enjoy the feeling of it. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right. Getting in the back of the Nova. All right, so it's actually not bad. Getting in and out isn't terrible either. The ceiling is a little bit low. I am kind of getting pretty close here, but it's not bad. You know, for a high school car, Paul bought this when he had just gotten out of high school. I do have ashtrays and cranks for these windows, but that's it. So pretty basic back seats. The trunk is a similar story. It's an incredibly basic trunk. No added bonuses or anything like that. This is where you put your stuff, and that was kind of it, but a staple of American cars was that it was a pretty good-sized trunk, and the Nova was no different. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the look of the Nova. And this one has been modified very slightly. There were hood vents. He took those away. There was a stripe down the side. He took that away when he restored it, and I like the clean lines of it now. I think this looks so amazingly muscle car, and this is what I kind of picture when I think of like early 70s muscle. I like that a lot. I also love this red color. I feel like I always see Novas in either green or like a lighter red. This is a really nice red, and this is the paint can that this paint came out of. It has 6 layers of color and 5 layers of clear coat. And that was done in 1995, although this is the original color. So let's talk about that. Let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Nova SS? It's sweet. This car is a one-owner car. You heard me correctly. The owner, Paul, optioned this car in August of 1972 and took delivery of it on October 27th, 1972. So from the release of this video, 52 years ago, this car was delivered to the dealership. And Paul worked all around here in North Jersey. He drove a lot. He put almost 200 miles on the car a day. However, he held many different jobs. He worked for a lot of different meat companies and grocery stores and things like that. And so this was his work car. And then when he lost his job, this was his, well, find a new job car. And he drove it into the 80s. He would take it around the Bronx where it was hit several times. And then it was parked towards the end of the 80s to sit for a couple of years. And then in 1994, Paul decided to give it the restoration that this car needed. And I'll show some photos here. The entire restoration cost about $8,000, almost $9,000 to do. And it was paint, a new vinyl roof, some new bumpers and things like that, a refreshed interior. And now that's how this car sits. This car was restored before I was even born. My point being, this car has been a constant in Paul's life. He bought this car around the same time that he met his now wife. Paul's kids were raised in the back seat of this car. He told me a great story about going down the shore to Belmar and having a tire blowout with the family. This car has been there. It's been a constant. And I can't help but think about cars today. Are we gonna see a Chevy product live for 52 years that's manufactured today? Are we going to see a car as such a loyal and reliable steed as this? I wanna say yes, but my gut says no. Refreshed or not, this car has been a pillar and a staple in Paul's life. And as anyone who has lived life before knows, life is full of ups and downs, lefts and rights, twisty turnies. And yet here it is, withstanding the test of time. It's like a loyal golden retriever, ready for its next task and whatever Paul might throw at it. This car might sit and only go to shows the rest of its life, but it's earned its retirement. It's put its hours in. And that's what I appreciate about the Nova. That's what I like about the Nova. And the only thing that has been stronger than this Nova and more reliable than this Nova has been Paul's relationship with his wife. Here's the 52 great years of love and V8s. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Paul for letting me take out his Nova SS. Paul has been absolutely wonderful to work with. Such a cool person for sharing this vehicle with me today. And huge thank you to the Rusty Restored Relics for having me up here in Jersey to film a bunch of vehicles. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.